Igbo kwen, yeah. Cha 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 cha. Igbo kwezonu, yeah. Oko nyamini, nyamini. Koko nyamiri, nyamiri. Koko nyamiri, nyamiri. Koko nyamiri, nyamiri. Ibole, ibole. Igbo bunu ndamamihe. Ibole, ibole. Igbo bunu ndamamihe. Ebulanyelu, 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 ebulanyelu. Anamabara na ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye oseke. Anamabara nụ n'ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye oseke. Igbo bụ n'ụdị ike, ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ụdị ike. Ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ụdị ike, ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ụdị ike. Koko nyamini, nyamini.
Hello, ndewonu. Asimonoka. Let's start the session by calling on Chukwu Abiyama. Here, I want to do the real traditional prayer. Here, I have my alligator seeds. Here, Usoji, 7 of it. It has high level of potency, just to give my prayer potency. So, I have it here in my mouth. This is Ugele. Akilu, call it bitter cola. I'm using this because there is no cola, but it's still cola. And it has its significance. It represents longevity. It represents resilience. So when we take the alligator pepper and this particular seed, known as bitter cola, we say, no bachiuri, chukwu okike abịama, ndonna anyị ha, ndonna nna anyị ha, ndị anyị kpọ unu kpọzụ ibe unu. Keoke onye ọha nnukwu ka anyị na-akpọ unu Zik Prempe Nkrumah Awolowo ka anyị kpọzụ unu kpụ ibu unu anyị so unu ndị chi Afrịka nkulie ndị nke ebuga ohu ebe unu na n'Igbo landing asị unu kulie anyị asị unu kulie unu nụrụ olu anyị ụbọchị taa na orie ka o reziere anyị orie wu ikuku onye ozi anyị jiri anyị jiri anwụrụ ọkụ oru eluigwe ekpere anyị ruo unu ntị anyị so unu gbatuo jikọ aka gbakọ aka gọzicha ụbọchị taa ihe erizichara anyị mma ọ gazie n'ọfọ ise ise ise.
Ise, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We are in a situation where God knows we need that. Welcome everyone to Chiism Live, another episode. We're so glad that you're able to join us. For those of you, wherever you are, may nothing but goodness follow you. I just want to announce that the topic of today was what to know before you move to Africa. The guest who was supposed to have this conversation with us today, who has lived in Ghana, unfortunately, she had an emergency, so she was not. He's not able to be with us today. So she's going to come next Sunday. In the meantime, there's so much going on in our world that we need to talk about. And I will be remiss, really, if we don't talk about it. This show is just 1 hour, so we're going to be, we're going to go through it as quickly as we can. Today, obviously, I would like to welcome Dibia Yudi Kawo, co-host Yudi Woka, and of course, our dear Chiedozie, Dibia Chiedozie. Thank you.
Okay, man.
Thank you. You know, we are so, our world right now, all over the world, there's so much focus on what's going on in the Gaza Strip. As it should be, they should be talking about, because it's really quite awful. And yet Netanyahu is determined that he's not going to stop the war, even though the UN has declared that it's illegal and that they need to stop. He says, no, he's not stopping. Why? Why is he not stopping? Well, that's still something he has to explain. He says that he has to wait till until the war is completely won. But the question is, who are you fighting? You're fighting babies. You're fighting mothers and fathers. I don't see a tank from the Hamas. Now, I know what happened. We all know what happened in Israel. 1,400 people being killed. That is horrible. But I'm yet to see, as I'm looking at the news, I'm yet to find the evidence of Hamas. Now, I want to see Hamas the Hamas soldiers running around with their guns and their artillery and all of that. I don't see anything. All I see a bunch of little kids being killed and and the women and husbands. As a matter of fact, just recently, a man had a white flag. There were about 4 men. They had the white flag, letting the soldiers know that they're harmless. They don't have any guns, anything. And that is where Israel told them to go, the refugees to go. Now they're bombing where they told the refugees to go. So you have to wonder what this is all about. I'm not a history. I'm not a. Hey, you call it. Look at what we're looking at. Look at what we're looking at. But see, we are so consumed about that. But we're not even looking at the genocide happening in Africa right now. There's genocide happening in Africa, and it involves the jihadists. They're going through and just killing. There's so much. Nigeria is being devastated by the terrorists, but nobody's talking about it because it's Black lives that are being lost. That's why, when we tell you, to reclaim who you are, pay attention to who you are. You're not paying attention. You're not paying attention because somebody has promised you that you are going to go to heaven when you die. Listen, people. Look around, listen, pay attention to what's going on in your world right now, right here. We got a situation here in Atlanta where you have the Cup City. They're building this massive center, supposedly for training. And you know who's training the police? The IDF, Israel. Why are this? What's going on with that? So people are panicking over that because they are afraid of the potential abuse that will happen there. You've got that going over there. Then you've got Nigeria and I'll have you guys talk about that when the time comes, okay? There is so much going on in the lives, and this Cup City is in the Black community. Militarization of the police. That's what people are concerned about. I didn't say it. It's all over the media. What's going on? Where Black people are gathered, people of color are just being exterminated, or more power is being brought in to ensure that you cannot agitate for your own good. What's going on? And we're not paying attention. We're running around here praising and waiting for the time we'll die and go to this heaven. And we're living in hell. What do we do while we're in hell, people? Huh? What do we do while we're living in hell? We're so concerned about where we're going to go when we die. What do we do while we're here? That's what we're not doing. We're not paying attention. But you see, there are people paying attention. And the attention they're paying is not for your own good. I don't know how many of you heard what happened in Ghana recently. Perhaps you know about it. But recently, there was a Pan-African event, the Convention 2024. That's what it was called. And it was called off a few hours before the program started. Now, you've got people coming from all over the world for this Pan-African event. Right before it starts, it was called off. It was scheduled to take place on Sunday, which was January 7th, 2024. Okay. In Ghana, the place called Independence Square. Okay. Ghana's Constitution Day was January 7th. So that's why it was scheduled to have that. Okay. So now there's a rebellion going on following the decision by the president to cancel this Pan-African event. And the public are very angry because they don't understand it. Why would you last minute cancel a world event being hosted in Africa and you don't tell us why? They want explanation that they're not getting. Who was behind this?
The West. Who else?
They're saying that there's some kind of hidden agenda. And this is going to impact the well-being of Ghana. Ghana, as you know, has become the melting pot, if you will, of Africans. That's where they go and congregate. African Americans go there, they build their homes, they do all sorts of things in Ghana. Ghana's economy was just exploding, supposedly, because of the influx of Africans coming into Ghana. But there is no evidence right now being given, okay, to the Ghanaians why this controversy happened. Is it an attempt to prevent Africans from promoting Pan-Africanism in Africa? What is that? Because it was a highly anticipated event. And many people young people were crowding into Ghana. They had talented artists. They had people who were just prepared to ignite the voice of Africa, empowering these young people. That's what excited the young people from all over Africa. They were looking forward to this event. So the sudden cancellation, the people are just don't understand what's going on. Not only are they disappointed, but it's such a confusion. They were looking forward to listening to the wisdom. Professor Lumumba was one of the keynote speakers, and you know how inspiring he is. So a lot of these young people were looking for it. How about Julius Malema? From South Africa, with his fiery speeches, people were, he's an advocate of African welfare, so people were looking forward to his speech. How about Dr. Arikana? I think it's Shihombori, she's called. Okay. She has been the one that has been really fighting France in Africa. And I think that she participated, her influence helped with all the revolt against France, right? She was supposed to be there. So she had in-depth intellectual knowledge. People were they were coming from the US, from London, everywhere. And Peter Obi, the former presidential candidate in Nigeria, was also in the lineup. So what led to this cancellation? Why did the government decide that this event that was bringing Africa's greatest minds and young people who were eager, some people sold off their things just to be able to travel to Ghana to be a part of this experience? What was the reason this was canceled? One thing is clear, my people. The African community all over the world are seeking answers. There is some motive, and it's not just the Ghanaian president they don't believe. Somebody did not want Africans to come together. It was supposed to be a beacon of hope for the youth, where with all the platforms of the voices, can come together and echo across the continent, African continent. But just a few hours, you guys think about that. With all the high spirits, all the excitement, boom, the soldiers were told to go there and shut it down. So people have wasted resources, excitement, spirit, everything, just dashed a few hours before the event was supposed to take place. We don't know to this date. Nobody knows. They're not telling us why this happened. I went to an event yesterday, and that was part of the conversation. What happened? This was such an opportunity for Africans to come together and deal with the issue of African challenges on the continent. Can this be done again? How do you convince people to come back out and do such a thing when the possibility is that it may be canceled again? So to this day, with all these speakers and artists and everything to showcase African, it was determined to showcase African culture and perspectives and everything, sense of unity among the people. The Pan-African movement was killed within an hour or so of the event. So people are asking, what is the timing of this cancellation? Why? Who's behind this? People, you know what? We need to just wake up. We need to wake up, because what we don't see is what's going on in the world. We're being targeted. Pardon me. We're being targeted. Not just here in America, everywhere. And if we don't start paying attention, our children will pay the price. Maybe the ultimate objective of this destruction may not happen while we're alive. But I tell you one thing, our children are going to experience it. It's not going to go away. As long as they can do these things and not tell you why they're doing it. That's what's annoying about it. The people don't know why this happened. Africans converging collectively, and that's just destroyed. So that's one of the things that's going on in the Black world, the issue with Ghana. Now, you guys have, we have an, before I let you talk about what's going on in Nigeria, or the positive note, Burkina Faso recently arrested some French traitors, they call them. These people were spying on Burkina Faso, and the French wanted these people back. There were 4 men. Burkina Faso said no. France is making all kinds of threats. Burkina Faso said no. They're not going anywhere. They still have them held hostage because they were spying on Burkina Faso. And Burkina Faso is making such dramatic changes in that country. It's amazing. It's amazing what's going on. So that's on the brighter note. So on the now I want us to go to Nigeria. Dibia Chiedozie, you're in Nigeria. Before you talk, do you have any comments about what I said about Ghana?
Yeah, Stephen Biko and you too, Dibia, reminded us that the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
Yes. And
people of African ancestry operate as if we don't face the same dangers, that the racism and the prejudices affect us differently. The Jamaican thinks differently from the Haitian, who thinks differently from the African American, who thinks differently from the Nigerian, who thinks differently from the Ghanaian, who thinks differently from the Somalian, etc., etc., etc. We are facing the same war machine on our psyche, on our economy, and on our physical being. We had the first Festival of Arts and Culture in the United States. I think it was in Chicago in the 60s. And then in 1977, we had Festac in Nigeria, all designed to promote Pan-African mindset, Pan-African thinking, inflection to reflect inwards, to find out how we could help ourselves, how we could embrace our way of life, become original in our thinking, and put Africa first, put the African first before anybody else, just like all other world communities do. It was an opportunity to showcase what we as people of African ancestry have contributed to civilized behavior in all areas of human endeavor, from science to, medicine, architecture, sports, arts, everything that we had contributed to the civilized world from the dawn of history, recorded history. These were all opportunities to do so. Opportunity for us to look inward and understand that only us can solve our problems. Racism is there. The prejudice that we face as people of African ancestry is there. There's nothing, absolutely nothing that we could do about it. But here's one thing that we all know. Your best defense against oppression is your primordial religion, your culture. That's your best defense. If you have that intact, then it's very difficult for foreign agents to get into your mind and have you destroy yourselves. The Europeans are not destroying us. They're just taking advantage of our stupidity, our lack of courage to change. They're just taking advantage. If the role was reversed, I'm sure we'll probably do the same thing. But the only reason why I don't lean towards that is the idea, is the spiritual maxim of people of African ancestry. Biri can biri, live and let live. Monachiso, Madubuchi Bear. That's how we've always operated all over sub-Saharan Africa. We've never been or preached any philosophy in religion or spirituality that says that we have a duty to convert another fellow human being to our own mindset, to our own religion, like all Abrahamic religions do. And only Abrahamic religions do it. I don't see Buddhists going to try to convert a Hindu. We don't have any wars based on any conversion outside of Abrahamic religions where other world religions invaded a people just so they can establish their religious philosophy and rule over those people. They may establish it after they've conquered you for economic reasons, but it was never because of religion until Abrahamic religions of Judaism that claims God's chosen people, Abraham, Islam that says that Muhammad is the last prophet of God, and Christianism that says that Christ is the Son of God. Africans have never preached that. Hindus have never preached it. Sikhists, Confucians, Taoists, Shinto, Zoroastrians, Manichaeism. No world religion has ever preached that they have the only prophet that is a mediator between man and God, or woman and God, except for Abrahamic religions. The greatest instrument in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. The world, the West, saw what was going to happen in Ghana as a threat to their agenda. We as Africans saw what we were expecting to happen in Ghana as a beacon of hope that perhaps at some point we have now had some level of self-realization that only us can solve a problem, and we can only solve it through unity. But unfortunately, and this is my last point here, unfortunately, and I'm going to stress this, and damn who it offends, what's happened in Ghana, what's going on in Nigeria, it's not all about the West in terms of economic power. It's also the West and the North and the Arab world with their religion. They go hand in hand. The West preaches freedom of speech, freedom of free will, but they don't practice it when it comes to the black man, the African. You as an African is not expected to have free will to chart your course, your course, to be master of your own destiny like they are. We have resources that they want, and the only way for us to protect those resources is to go back to our roots, understand who we are, and work from the inside out. Because if we don't, what's going on in what happened in Ghana and what's about to happen in Nigeria, which Dibia Chiedozie is going to give us a little bit more detail, is inevitable. The Julius Malemas and, these great Pan-Africans that exist today that are preaching that Africa should come back to itself. They're all targets. They're all targets. Make no mistake about it. Professor Lumumba, These people are all targets. They may not be physical targets, but they're targets intellectually that they will create environments where those people cannot, how do you say, foster their ideas amongst us. The platforms that we are preparing to hear from these people will almost become non-existent. That's what I'm more afraid of than physical harm, where we get to a point where we ourselves keep our leaders, those people with a Pan-African mindset that can imbue some knowledge into our mind so that we could rise again, where they don't have the platform anymore, where they now have to go to social media that we don't control, that those people can control at any time, just like China does, snuff your social media experience out. Now you have nothing. Because of our dumbness in religion, economics, and politics, we have not been able to develop technology, economies that are self-sustaining, that are not dependent on oil. In Nigeria, for example, migrate to a manufacturing industry, which is more difficult to suppress than oil. That's all I got to say. Up to you.
Go
on, Dibia. Thank you.
Well, I know. I hope you can hear me. Let me.
Yes.
Okay. You said it. You said a whole lot. Let me just pick up the pieces. What I can see now is about the theory of reincarnation, which you refer to as the cyclical theory of history. Africa is once more on dire strip. And it is time for Africa again to rise and fight for its freedom. And the reason is that the first freedom we fought and got was tokenism. We didn't get it right. Because the Pan-Africanism that orchestrated the liberation was intellectual. It was not spiritual.
Yes.
So, and if we go to what Ngugi wa Thiong'o wrote in one of his works, The Petals of Blood, through one of the major character, the Karega, the teacher, he said, he got to school one day, he said, "Children, let me teach you about the history of Mr. Blackman. In the beginning, the black man had body, mind, and soul. Then came the administrator. So then came the soldiers who battered his body. The black man still fought back. Then came the educators who destroyed his mind. The black man still fought back. Then came the missionaries, Arab, Islamic, and Euro-Christianity, who destroyed his spirit, and since then the black man died. So the new liberation cannot go without being provoked, because the human mind is such that it has a lot of potency and potentialities, dormant, until it is challenged before it wakes up. And that is what is happening now. And so I do not want to take much time on this. I just want to sum it up. For us to move forward, we have to obey the African spiritual law of duality and complementarity. How? It has to be a top-bottom, bottom-top approach. Top spiritual Pan-Africanism that is meant to awaken the spirituality of individual Africans. If we are to get liberated, all the African people must go back to their spirituality. And so Chiism is providing the general platform and orientation. And then it's left for those African people back here in African countries to go back to our spirituality, because if we want true liberation, we cannot get it through the foreign lens. It will becloud our vision. A situation where we want to salute God, we have to face Mecca. face Arabia, face Jerusalem, face Beijing, face India, means that the ultimate power for deliverance is not in Africa. Because if you watch our home videos, is our culture is the problem. Solution lies in Islam and Christianity. Here, even in the University of Lagos, any meeting to be held, beginning prayer, ending of it prayer, beginning Christian pray, end of it Muslim pray. What of our own? Well, here, my last dean will deliberately point at those who we pray, because she doesn't want me to pray, because she will know I will pray the traditional way. So when the current dean came in, the first meeting we had to hold, he said, Okoro, you have been denied this traditional African prayer for long. Pray for us. And of course, I did justice by praying the traditional way, and everywhere went gaga. So that is what we have to do now. And like Akachi wrote, if we think that we are going to liberate ourselves through beds of roses, sugar, and sweet plantain and banana, it won't happen so. So for me, the new wave has started, and every attempt has been done to quell it. It started in Nigeria 2020, the Lekki Gate. Then the P2B tsunami came, they quenched it. The same movement is going on in Ghana. If you do not know, sir, the incumbent president of Nigeria installed the incumbent governor of Ghana. And the West does not want Africans' mind liberated. And those people that were to gather in Ghana, like Jibe Yudi said, are the African intellectuals. And some of them are not just intellectuals, they are into African spirituality. So they will waken up the African young minds. They will inspire the African young minds. But fortunately, the African young minds are already inquisitive. Like DBUD said, they are suffering the excruciating scourge of imperialism. And so they are ready. They are only waiting for one little tiny spark, and they will follow. But they need to be guided, which is why this program must continue, and we must encourage Africans to get back into their spirituality so that there will be a top-bottom, bottom-top complementarity, and that way, consistently, we will be delivered. We will deliver ourselves.
Okay, man.
Thank you. And you know what, Kano? You know what? One of the things that's so important that we should know is the battle, it does not, if you're in a war, okay, if you lose a battle, that doesn't end the war. This is a war. We're in a spiritual war, okay? Because even the threat of uprisings in, these coups, that has really shaken up the Europeans in Africa. All those coups, 5 recently, that has just shaken them up to the core. Okay, because what's going on, you have to understand, is that these coups are led by young people, young soldiers. Look at the people who are doing it. And then they're not using the monies that they get for their own pockets. They're using it to uplift the community. They're using it to say, I mean, if you look at what is going on in Burkina Faso, to me, I mean, that Ibrahim, is it Traore? Traore? What's his name?
Traore. Yeah.
That young man is an example of what the future leaders of Africa look like. You see, we don't have any problems with Europeans being European in their countries. That my father says, Floriat, do you? But you cannot say that what you enjoy in your country, that we can't enjoy it. You cannot punish us for having the audacity to want to be as you. And look at the fact that they're giving the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank is giving Africa money. For what? It's going to the pockets of the puppet masters, the puppets that they call leaders, it goes in their pockets. And then the Europeans, when they pay back the money, they pay back at 1% interest rate. Africa pays back at 10%. That means you can't pay back. You can never pay back. It's orchestrated on purpose that you stay where you are. And when you have the audacity to raise your head and say, get your foot off my neck, that's when all of this confusion starts. They keep the confusion going, and of course, unfortunately, like you said earlier, the powerful tool in the hands of an oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. When you get these rulers thinking more about their pockets, the fact that their people is fighting for air, fighting for survival, doesn't mean anything to them. It's about who's going to get the money. People, remember something. It's not even just about power. It's about money. Who's going to get all this money? When they're giving you, when they're giving you millions and millions and billions of dollars that they know you can't pay back. And you have to use as resources as collateral. They know you can't pay that stuff back. And as long as you can't pay it back, and they give money to these people who are only interested in investing in their own interest and their family and all of that, the poor man is suffering and suffocating, and sooner or later he's going to come up for air, and then that's when you want to squash him. We got military stations all over Africa. Why are those people there? Have we even stopped to ask, why do we have all that military presence on the African continent? Why are those not? Who are they? What is that for? Now they tell us that the U.S. is protecting, is trying to curb terrorism in Africa.
Yeah, right.
Also, it's gotten worse.
Yeah, right.
With all the presence you got there, it's gotten worse. We're getting worse and worse and worse. But then now that Africa is not necessarily fighting anyone. Our objective is not to fight them. Our objective is to rise. But we're not allowed to do that. And like you said earlier, spirituality is our ticket out of this whole doldrum. Our spirituality, because that's what opens our minds and opens our eyes and ears. We can hear correctly. We can see the right things. But when you are in this fantasy land about what happens, and all of them tell us about what you get after you die. This one says that you have how many virgins can you get? Now this one says that you're going to go heaven and sit at the foot of God. What am I doing sitting at the foot of God? I'm with God right now. Why I got to die to go see God? Right where I am, God is. While you're alive, you're already as our spirituality tells us that while we're alive, we're already interacting with the Most High. Monachiso. So why do we have to die? So as long as our people are in that fantasy mode, fantasy land, going every Sunday, praising and praising and praising and praising, and nothing happens. I was watching a video the other day. This young man just took off his clothes and started burning it. Started burning his church clothes, started burning the Bible. He started burning everything. He said, they've lied to us. We're tired of being lied to. We're not going to take it anymore. The only thing I can say, Dibia, Yudi, and Chiedozie, is my only gratitude in all of this is that the young minds are waking up. Remember how parents used to drag them every Sunday to church. Now, those young people are not doing that no more. They don't want to go. They make it, I don't want to go. The event that I went yesterday was at a church. I was a speaker. And one woman, after we made the presentations, it was a panel. One woman got on the speaker, on the mic, and she says, there's something wrong with this picture. Where are the youth? We looked at the audience. There was not a single youth there. Why? Not because they were not invited, but because of what? They don't buy that stuff no more. They don't want to go and sit there and hear elders just talk about what the problem is and not willing to do anything about it. It's a lot of talk. But I know that the group that was there yesterday, the elders that were there, they were there to tell us what we could do, that we should stop being quiet. But then a lot of those young people already, when you say it's being held in the church, they just don't want to even be there. So young people are waking up. Young people are waking up. And we have a responsibility to wake them up, keep them up. One of the concerns they had yesterday was, who's educating the children? That our children are illiterate. One woman said that the educational system here in America is so bad that the children, black children, are illiterate. They're not learning anything. They're not teaching them anything. They can't read. I say, whose responsibility is it for your children to read? It's your responsibility. It's your responsibility. If they're not reading, then go in those schools and demand that they read. Demand that they teach them. And you set up your own doggone schools, for heaven's sakes. So anyway, make a long story short, it's wake up time. It's wake up time. It's chabola. Chijireji obola. It's morning time. And we need to wake up. Because they're coming after us. They're coming after us. What you saw in Ghana, what you see happening in Nigeria, it's not just happening in Ghana and Nigeria, it's happening throughout Africa. Any African nation that seems like it's on its way to do well, they're coming out against you like white on rice. But you have to be prepared. You have to be mentally prepared. And our spirituality is the only thing that gives us the power to step out and stop being such wimps and being taken advantage of. Why is somebody talking about jihad in our own country? Eh? You're coming to fight against your own people with foreign religion. That's what you're willing to kill your people for. Advising them to go throughout Nigeria and just take people out. No. UD, go ahead.
Let me just touch on a couple of things here. Throughout human history, religion is a common theme in oppression. Let me say that again for our listeners. Throughout human history, religion is a common theme in oppression.
Yes.
You know, empires or countries, whatever you want to call yourself, individuals or groups in a position of power, have used religion as a tool to justify their oppression and their actions. When they put a knife in you, they justify it by saying, if you're in the Christian world, it's part of their conversion process through a policy of blood and iron. They're winning souls for the Lord. Mm-hmm. So if you don't agree with them, you're less than human. You're not worthy spiritually. They got to get rid of you, push you aside, and move on to those people that they could control.
Yeah.
We need a revolution of the mind in Africa, not
That's
just
it.
the
Mind revolution. Yes.
We need a revolution. And we are very specific about this in Chiism. We need a revolution of the mind. Organize it. Understand the concept of nation formation, nation building, and nation management in that order.
But can I ask you a question, UD? I want to ask you a question, in line with what you're talking about. We need, and I agree, we need to have an open mind. We need to be focused more on the way that our ancestors did stuff. We need to become aware of what these people are doing, what the enemy, if I may use that, are doing. But how do you stop that when the people who are supposed to be out there fighting, right, They talk about it, but they go behind and start practicing what the Europeans do. How do you fight? I don't know if you get what I'm saying. How do you fight?
I get what
how
you're
do
saying.
we do it?
I get what you're saying. And listen, when you got a stone in your shoe, only you know where that stone is. When somebody puts a knife in you, you're the only one feeling that pain. When we talk about what we talk about, we cannot water it down. This is not a kumbaya affair, because it's the kumbaya affair that's got us to where we are right now. You have to be about it. Remember, every person that we extol today, that we call our heroes, all sacrificed something. There are a lot of people in the African community globally that understand what we're saying. But there's an aspect of foreign influence in our way of thinking that keeps us from coming together as a unit and destroying this scourge that is threatening to destroy Africa. And what that is simply this. Everybody wants to be king. Nobody is willing to work alongside with another organization or person to achieve the same goal. This is not about I did it first. This is understanding or looking at all the people that are in this same mind frame and then compartmentalizing their strengths. If yours is in spirituality, if yours is economic, if yours is the environment, if yours is leadership, whatever you want to bring to the table, just like a good okra soup. A good okra soup has one component that is necessary to make that okra soup. Without that component, you cannot make that okra soup. Some people will argue that to make that okra soup to taste good, you need a pot to put all the ingredients and water so you could boil it. But the most important ingredient in making okra soup is fire. It's the heat, which is your primordial core, which is your spirituality, which is your history, which is your culture. That is the fire that you need to light the cauldron to create your okra soup. We don't have courage in Africa. We talk about it, and then we have this thing about, I have to be the leader. It has to be me. It has to be me. I have to be at the forefront so everybody can see me. You incur this personalized outlook about your actions. Like, I want a big car, I want a big mansion, I want everybody to see me. It's all about me. But when you step outside your gate, it's rotten. We don't have any grassroots leadership based on African way of thinking, based on a Pan-African mindset, based on the idea that a tree soon falls if the roots are not deep enough. There's nothing that we create in Africa that has deep roots. There's nothing that we create in Africa that is based on something that is primordial to our core as Africans. Nothing. Our economy is not based on that. African economy is a social, we have a socio-economic system that we should propagate and bring it into the 21st century. We couldn't even keep up with the 20th century, let alone the 21st. We're so behind the 8 ball, it's not funny. The problem with our people is, number one, we lack courage. Number two, we don't see anything about Africa that is worth flaunting to the rest of the world. And when we want to make a change, we seem to be out there screaming, oh, we're going to make a change and we're going to destroy you. You're going to have to leave. Those people that got their boots around your neck, what do you think they're going to do? You have to be covert if you have the right leadership that can change the educational system, that can change the economic system, and still deal with foreign economies. You don't have to do any of these things by alienating yourself from the rest of the world, because without the rest of the world, you cannot survive anyway. You need to unite sub-Saharan Africa. And I'm stressing sub-Saharan Africa. I could care less about what Egypt and Tunisia and Morocco and what they do, because they don't see themselves as Africans anyway, except for Libya at some point in their history until recently. The rest of them think they're Arabs or whatever it is they think they are. That's fine with me. I'm talking about black folks. Sub-Saharan Africa, from Ethiopia to Somalia to Sudan to South Africa to Nigeria, Senegal, Mauritania, Chad, Niger, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Cameroon, Gabon, all of them, Dahomey, Togo, Kenya, Tanzania, Burkina Faso, Uganda, Angola, Namibia, Botswana, all of them. We need to come together and really discuss Africa's problem from the perspective of religion, because we are prisoners of it. The Arab influence through Islam in Africa is decimating sub-Saharan Africa.
Yes.
From Nigeria to Kenya to Sudan to Somalia, it's desecrating everything. First Stack was destroyed by the Catholic Church. And I'm saying it. And the architect of that destruction was Cardinal Arinze. And you could quote me on it.
Oh, it's true, though.
When First Stack became a devil's playground, according to them, First Stack was gone. The economic benefits of First Stack was maligned. The unifying focus on First Stack was maligned. The spiritual, music, the economic prowess that First Stack brought to bear in 1977 was maligned. All the benefits that First Stack gave Africa in terms of uniting us under one common cultural focus in all areas of human endeavor was showcased in Nigeria in 1977. And after that, that's it. The next great attempt at something like First Stack is what happened in Ghana. And that was maligned, thrown away, and destroyed because somebody in the West, guided by philosophy of Christianism, I guarantee you, decided that it was not in the best interest of the West. And therefore, that event cannot hold. They already got our mind with Islam and Christianism, and we fight each other based on foreign religions. Muhammad is not from Ghana. Jesus didn't come from Nigeria or Senegal. None of these spiritual prophets or heroes had anything to do with us, never even cared of anything happening in Africa, because at that time, there was nothing happening in Africa. There was no invasion. There was no colonization. There was no slavery in terms of people coming and picking us up and taking us across the seas to the Americas. All those things didn't exist. There's nothing these guys did in their religion that had anything to do with us. But those same doctrines is what is being used to mess the minds of people of African ancestry up big time in the Americas, in the motherland, in the Indies, in Europe, in Asia, wherever black folks are. The jackboots of foreign religion is on our throat. So they may have taken the chains off our limbs, but they simply put it around our heads. And just one more thing, and I'll get off. Just to repeat, the greatest tool in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. And until we get control of our minds, it's going to be one tragedy after another. We must see that. That's all I got to say.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just wanted to comment very briefly, and then Dibia Chedo said, Aka Chineke said, you have black people running around saying they're soldiers for Christ. That right there, when you're talking about the mind, that right there, soldiers for Christ. And what exactly is Christ asking us to do? What are we fighting for? Dibia Chedozi Biko.
They are not only soldiers for Christ. These days, they are also soldiers for Buddhism, Brahma Kumaris, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
They even get so bold to come here to want to convert Ichie de Kamua, and I have to show them the way out. Both they even came spiritually, and I won them. So I took them on a astral travel, and I was going 50,000, 100,000. They were at 5,000, and I said, "Why can't this guy go beyond 5,000?" And then I said, "Oh, that's your level, and you want to drag me down? Be careful, if not, I will deal with you." And that was the last time. In fact, I came down, I think 3 days later, I drove into the faculty. That was 5 years ago. As I drove into the faculty, and I saw them coming, those ones that came, and then I came down from my car, walking towards them. They faced the opposite way. I was calling on them, and they were running. They couldn't look at me anymore because in the face, because I was too much for them to handle. But time is not on our side. I'll just make this little point. I will take it from what Dibia Ude said. And this is it. We must cease from trying to start our liberation from the outside. What I mean by the outside, by notifying people that we want to be free.
Yes.
Because if you look at the order of the universe, it started from bottom up.
Yes.
It didn't start from top to bottom. Creation started from one tiny unit. Evolution, everything started from one tiny unit and began to expand. And as it began to expand, it faced a lot of obstacles. It was laborious.
Yes.
So that is what Chiism represents. One tiny spot.
Yes.
And then we keep expanding it.
Yep.
The only thing we have to do now, and it is gradual.
Yes.
The university will soon start, and then the physical university is in focus. Once that physical university comes in focus, then from kindergarten you can catch them young. From kindergarten you can catch them young, because in the university you will have your primary, secondary school, nursery, primary, secondary school, crèche to university.
Yes.
And so you can begin to catch them young. So if we're expecting a miracle overnight, it can't happen. We have to build it. That's right.
That's right. So that's just the bottom line. That's just the bottom line. When we talk about all these things that need to be done, how is it going to be done? It's going to be done when people, just like you did, and like you guys have said, you have to start with the mind. And it's such a difficult thing to convince people that there's another way that's not just through fighting and arguments, but through building your spirit, changing your spiritual thought, changing what you believe in, changing the lies you've been abandoning the lies you've been taught, because they taught us all of that for a reason, to keep us in confusion. And as long as you're confused, in a state of confusion, they go in there and take your things, and they're doing it. It's still working. It's working tremendously. When you find that we are building all these monuments in honor of this tall white Jesus, and once it was in Enugu, I guess it was in Enugu, Chedoze, you may know, where that big monument. Well, you've got the Madonna. Well, you've got that.
Then Mary status, the status of Mary.
Yeah, you have the statue of Mary, but then you also have of Jesus. Okay, and these are, the thing about it for me, it's just the messaging that these, God is doesn't look like you. If you're in Africa, you want to talk about Jesus, make him a black man, make Mary a black woman. Because you guys are
a black Madonna.
You're holy too. You see what I'm saying? You are holy too. But if all the images that we're seeing and our children are seeing, that is, look, it kills your brain cells, people. It kills your brain
Okay.
cells. There's no way you can rise to the occasion if you're blinded, if your brain is not working properly. It kills your brain cells, just like drugs. These lies are like drugs. Once they grab you, it's hard to let go. And that's where we are. We're having difficulty letting go. We bought into it, and it's now part of our reality. So it's going to take, like a Dibia just said, chipping at it with education. This miseducation that's going on is adding to our woes. We're being miseducated. You know, when you have an event, when you have an event at the gathering of African royalty, and who comes to pray? A pastor.
I mean, it's sad, man.
You know, I get so. You've got all these dignitaries. Instead of having an African pour libations or break the kola nut, we have this person dressed in this Catholic thing and come and preach. We just have to have, and you can't blame her. Somebody invited her. Somebody invited them to come and do those things, because this is where we are mentally. We can have somebody break cola, pour libation, but we must have that Catholic stuff there as well. Listen, I have somewhere I have to go, and my time is it's going to take me about half an hour to go there, to get there. So we're going to end this program today. We have a very exciting one next year, and I do next week. Pardon me. I do apologize that our guests did not show up today. But next Sunday, we are definitely going to talk about what it's going to take for you to go and set up businesses in Africa. Don't just talk about it. Make sure you're prepared, because there are certain things you're going to have to give up when you make such a leap, right? You just have to adjust your thinking about what Africa is, and be prepared to work with the, be a part of the community that you're moving into. But she's going to tell us all of that, how she made it. And, she travels back and forth, but she does live there. She does have a home there. So for those of you who may be interested in moving to Africa, she's going to explain to you what you need to do. But she says ultimately, it's a beautiful experience, and she's loving it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for being here. Dibia Chedozie, Dibia Yudi, thank you. I appreciate you guys. And all of you who joined us, thank you so much for being here today. And please don't hesitate to join us next Sunday, and share this video. Share this video and talk about us to your friends. Talk about us to your friends, so that we have more and more people who take an opportunity to be a part of what we're doing. Yeah, guys, here.
Yeah, guys, here.
Oh, one more thing I have to say. Let me give you a chance. One more thing I have to say. Listen, libations is everything. Prayer is everything. I had a situation that I don't want to go into it, that was looking very bleak. And what happened? Boom! Prayer just turned it around. I mean, I can't believe it. I'm on high. Okay, it's for another show, but I just have to say, Chineke, thank you, Imela, and all of you. Your energy must have had something to do with it, because I'm walking with my head tall, because what I thought I had is not there. It's not there anymore. At least I'm claiming it's not there.
Good.
Yes.
Mama.
All right. Dibia Chedozie, yeah, guys, here. Okay, man. Cow.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So, all right. Let's see.